All right, what's going on? Nick Kirby, Craig Sandlin. Need a run. How we doing, Craig?
Ask me again in like 5 minutes, and we'll see how we're doing. How about you? How's your weekend going?
My weekend's going good. No complaints. All right, where we at?
Interesting to see a couple. We got Ellie coming up. Ellie's leading off for us. So Ellie, Candelario, and Steer. I guess if you got to have a rally in the ninth, you might as well start it with Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, pretty decent guy.
Kyle Finnegan in for the Nationals.
Yeah, Reds forced him to pitch last night. I
got to turn off chat.
Yeah, I'm sure they're way ahead of us.
Yeah. I just saw ball one. In case we're around the same time.
Yeah. Somehow I got behind you.
Oh.
That's what happens. I pause it for everyone else, and then I end up the one behind, trying to be the nice guy. Yeah, right down the pipe.
Yeah. Need a rally. Finnegan 25 for 29 in save chances. Did he pick up the save last night?
Yeah, the tying run was at the plate, so I would assume so.
Yeah, so 26 for 30. Wow, just
well, that didn't go well. Oof.
That's one of those things. I mean, we've talked about it before. Just like sometimes Elliot just looks out of, I guess he's guessing at the plate and just looking for a certain pitch and just can't adjust because to not even flinch at that pitch tells me he was looking for a breaking ball and expected it to break out of the zone. Come on, Candy.
I feel like Jimmer Candelara's fouled off like 40 pitches today.
He's hit so many weak little nubbers foul. I mean, he's grounded out 3 times. So, yeah, just not a great day for old Gamer. No, that's a foul. You want to fast forward a couple seconds to catch up so I don't ruin anything?
If I try to, no, it's fine.
Okay. I'll just ruin it.
It's just is what it is. Of course, he hits a bullet right at someone. Oh.
All right, Spencer. I've been talking about your clutch gene for a couple of weeks now, it feels like.
.105 off the bat. Woof. come on. He has not been calling that a strike all night. Jeez. Come on, man. Yeah, Chris is exactly right. Good take. Good take. All right. Let's walk a runner on base.
Ty Steve on deck.
Let's do a show.
Bench to bench. Change hit in the air to deep right field. Back goes Clemente. At the save. He's done. Get out of here, baseball. He's gone. Oh, my God. You believe it. Johnny Bench has tied it up. The Cincinnati Reds win the World Series in 4 straight. It was a sweep. In the dirt. It's a wild pitch. Here comes Foster. The Reds win the pennant. Perkins won the game. That ball is fair. Cincinnati's ahead. 2 games to none. Welcome, Joe Randa to Cincinnati. Adam Dunn has done it again. Benzinger backing and calling. And the 1990 World Championship belongs to the Cincinnati Reds.
Marty, yes. This is Adam from Milwaukee. Hey, Adam, how you doing? I'm good. How are you? Good. Do you think Scott Hatterbox is a good player?
Dunn up there with the bases loaded. The outfield deep and around toward right. And the 1-0 on the way to the plate. Swung on. Long drive. Right field. And this one belongs to the Reds. And a high drive. Hit back into deep right field. Junior has just knocked the door down to the 500 club. Benson's first home run is a walk-off winner. That ball had a family.
And De La Cruz is, oh my goodness, look at this kid run. My, oh my. That is a triple.
Matt McClain's first big league bomb. Spencer Steer's first big league hit is a home run to straightaway center field. Joey Votto's done it again. The pitch. Votto swings high in the air. Right field. Yes! He pointed to the dugout to say, I told you. That is Joey Votto's 315th career go-ahead ribby. Only Johnny Bench had more as a Red.
And I can't tell you how much it means to play in front of everyone here in Cincinnati as a Red. What a gift. What a tremendous gift. So thank you. Thank you.
I think I can speak for all of Reds country. Joey Votto, thank you.
High drive, left center field, racing back to the Laurent Bourgeois. The Reds are National League Central Division champions. In the air, left center field. Did he? He did! He did! Reds win! Win! Line to the right field. Genius, the first Red ever with 4 home runs in a game.
All right, hey, what's going on? Welcome to Chatterbox Reds. Nick Kirby, Craig Sandlin. Man, tough one for the Reds tonight. Reds fall 5-4 to the Nationals. Just a game that it felt like the Reds were probably going to win most of the night, and just found a way to let it get away from them. Craig, how we doing, my friend?
Oh man, Nick. Feeling good through the first 4 or 5 innings. Lodolo comes out in the fourth and struggles a little bit, but bounces back in the 5th and 6th. Looks really good. Makes me feel good going into the late innings. Bullpen coming in and just didn't get it done today, and so not the series you wanted to see the Reds drop. That is for sure.
Yeah, you're hoping coming out of the All-Star break, you get off to a good start against the Nationals. You're staring down, traveling to Atlanta next. They haven't announced their starters, but it looks like some pretty good ones will be on tap for the Braves. So, yeah, obviously not where the Reds want to be right now. And, season's not over or anything like that. But, you lose a couple more games in a row and, well, it's really getting dicey. All right, are you ready with the box score recap, Craig?
Let's run it.
All right, before Craig gets to that, as always, appreciate if you like the stream. We do this after all 162 games, even night like tonight when it's not really a whole lot of fun, to be honest. We'll do our best to get through it. So please like the stream for us. If you're watching on Instagram, thanks for watching tonight. We do this on YouTube, all 162 games. Chatterbox Reds also available everywhere you get podcasts. All right, take it away, Craig.
Let's do it. Box score recap, as always, presented by Nicholas P. Kirby. After an 8-5 loss Friday night in the first game after the All-Star break, the Reds turned to left-handed starter Nick Lodolo on Saturday evening. Lodolo and the Reds would go up against the Nationals and lefty MacKenzie Gore. Early on, Gore struggled to find the strike zone, walking Jonathan India on 4 pitches, then walking Elly De La Cruz to start the game. After a 9-pitch strikeout from Jeimer Candelario, Spencer Steer would plate the Reds' first run of the day on a bloop single to right, advancing De La Cruz to third. Steer would steal second before Tyler Stevenson would walk on Gore's 30th pitch of the inning to load the bases with only 1 out. Austin Slater would then force Gore to throw 10 more pitches, ultimately lining a sac fly to left field, scoring De La Cruz. All told, it was a 48-pitch first inning for MacKenzie Gore, and the Reds led 2-0 after the first half inning. Lodolo would allow a leadoff infield single to C.J. Abrams in the bottom of the first. He'd then strike out Lane Thomas and Juan Yepes before Harold Ramirez sent a 1-1 pitch out to left center for a two-run home run, and we'd start anew in the second, tied up at 2 apiece. After quickly retiring the first 2 Reds batters in the top of the second, Gore walked India yet again. Then as India takes off for second, De La Cruz rips the ball down the left field line for an RBI double, the Reds regaining the lead at 3-2. The double would extend Elly's hit streak to 8 games. Gore would ultimately get out of the inning, but his day would be done. Just 2 innings pitched, 2 hits, 2 strikeouts, 4 walks, 3 earned runs on 67 pitches for Gore on the day. In the third, Tyler Stevenson would add to the Reds' total in the top as he hits a solo home run to left center, his 11th home run on the season. Lodolo would walk Riley Adams to start off the bottom of the fourth, followed by a single by Vargas. A fielder's choice would move Adams to third and replace Vargas at first with James Wood. 2 batters later, Lodolo would hit 9-hole hitter Jacob Young on a 1-2 curveball to load the bases, and C.J. Abrams would hit a grounder that both India and Candelario would converge on, and Abrams would narrowly beat Lodolo to the bag, earning himself an RBI infield single, reducing the Reds' lead to 4-3 after 4. We move ahead to the 7th inning. Lodolo would return to the mound for the bottom of the 7th, having set down the last 7 Nationals he faced. He'd surrender a leadoff single to the bat of Jacob Young before getting Abrams to fly out to right field. David Bell would turn to Fernando Cruz with 1 out and 1 on in the 7th. Young would steal second. Then Lane Thomas would send a weak liner to right field for an RBI double, scoring Young and closing Lodolo's book on the day. Ultimately, for Lodolo, 6 1/3 innings pitched, 4 earned runs, 6 hits, 8 strikeouts, 1 walk, and 1 hit batter. Cruz then would hit Ramirez on an 0-2 splitter, and Bell would turn to Sam Maul to face pinch hitter Keibert Ruiz with 2 men on and 2 outs. Maul would get Ruiz to ground out to end the threat and leave the score tied at 4 after 7. Justin Wilson would come in for the Reds in the 8th inning, giving up a leadoff double to Vargas. He'd retire the next 2 Nationals before Jacob Young sent a single to left field, scoring Vargas to give the Nationals a 5-4 lead, and leaving the Reds looking for yet another 9th inning rally. Unfortunately, Nationals closer Kyle Finnegan comes in for the 9th, retiring the Reds in order to take the series and the game by the final score of 5-4. The Reds drop to 47-52 on the year with just 8 games remaining before the trade deadline.
All right, we did have a deep drive of the day. It was Tyler Stephenson's 426-foot home run, 104.3 off the bat. And our deep drive of the day sponsor, as always, by Deep South Commodities. DSC is a leader in renewable commodities for biofuel production. They specialize in used cooking oil collection, aggregation, and sales. Visit www.deepsouthcommodities.com for more information. Thanks, as always, to our friends at DSC. All right, well, let's get into the game. It just, I don't know, Craig, one of those games where pitching wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. The offense wasn't terrible, but it wasn't great. And you end up with a 5-4 loss. That's kind of how I view how things happened tonight for the Reds.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunate outcome for sure. I felt like there were certain things that, were good signs. Nick Lodolo being able to go 6 1/3. That was the first time since June 18th that he was able to pitch through the 6th. That was a big next step for him. Obviously, his last 2 outings that were cut short by outside factors, maybe beyond his control. So for him to come back and his first start after the All-Star break to go 6 1/3, I thought that was a good sign. Tyler Stevenson with his home run today, and Jonathan India continuing to clearly see the ball very well at the plate, on base again 3 times today. But ultimately, I think the story and the conversation is going to be centered around Fernando Cruz today. And, Nick Lodolo goes back out for the 7th inning, surrenders a base runner, but then gets an out, and they turn to Cruz, and unfortunately Cruz isn't able to come through in the clutch like he has in the past. And so that's ultimately going to probably be the big story of the day. I mean, obviously Justin Wilson comes in and surrenders a run in the 8th as well, but feels like the topic that people are going to want to talk about is Fernando Cruz.
Yeah, Cruz he hasn't been as sharp. Now, the pitch that he gave the hit on was kind of hit off the end of the bat down the right field line. So I don't know if you want to put too much stock in today's game for Fernando Cruz, but he hasn't been pitching as clearly as dominant as he was earlier in the year. He's not getting as many, swings and misses. He was making hitters look silly, and I don't really remember Fernando Cruz making a lot of hitters look silly of late. So, yeah, I mean, this is a game though, like you said, you hope to close this out. And the Reds bullpen's been great all year. I think they're top 5 in ERA or somewhere around there. And, you just, we said it at the time, we hope that when, the offense picks up and you have some of these winnable games, that then the bullpen doesn't start to struggle. And unfortunately, it kind of has a little bit of late. They've had a few cracks the last, week or so, week and a half. Right before the break, they had some, and now they're having obviously one today. And it's just a shame because you got a massive break with MacKenzie Gore only going 2 innings. I thought this was the most challenging starter the Reds were going to face all weekend, and you were able to get him out. I think it was more MacKenzie Gore than necessarily the Reds' great at bats. I think he just didn't have it, which happens sometimes. But yeah, it just stinks that you weren't able to capitalize on that. And it's just like, if the offense could just put up a couple more runs, they win the game. If the the bullpen could have shut him down. They would have won the game. If Lodolo could have been just a little bit sharper, they would have won the game. And fortunately, you couldn't get any of those to happen. No part of the Reds team today played great today, and that's why we're at where we're at right now.
Yeah, ultimately, you're going to need some players to step up and perform at or above average. I think right now there's a lot of kind of meadowing around and not necessarily stepping up and above. And, the one guy I would call out is Jonathan India. I mentioned it before. I felt like he had some good at-bats today, got on base 3 different times. But Fernando Cruz, just to touch on that for a minute, I mean, and the biggest moment I think that sticks out is back when he was brought in to face Aaron Judge, and he was able to get Aaron Judge out in a big moment in New York, right? At that point, it was July 3rd. At that point, he had allowed 5 inherited runners out of 30 faced to score. So around a 14% rate of inherited runners scored. Since that time, he's allowed 2 of 6. So 33%. And I realize that that's a smaller sample size, only allowing 6 or facing 6. But the question is going to be asked, and obviously it's happening in the chat, it's happening on social media, is he going to continue to be the Reds' high leverage guy? Does he need a reset, whether that be on the IL or in the minors? He's been a name that's been thrown around as a potential sell high name on the trade market as we get to the trade deadline. So I'm interested your opinion of what, if any, changes you see with Fernando Cruz.
I don't know. I mean, I was concerned about his usage in the first half. I feel like they relied on him too heavily. Every time they had a big spot, it was always Fernando Cruz. And I get it. The margin for error was so slim because the Reds offense was struggling. But I don't know. He's not been as crisp, but again, I don't want to make too big of a deal out of tonight because it was it's not like Lane Thomas squared up a pitch and crushed it on him, right? I mean, this was a ball that was hit off the end of the bat down the right field line that just went fair. If that ball goes foul, Fernando Cruz gets him to strike on the next pitch, it's an entirely different conversation. So I don't want to go too overboard. I mean, I think you got to be a little more careful with Cruz, but this was a good spot for him. I mean, Lane Thomas is a right-handed batter that has pretty big splits. You definitely wanted to pull Lodolo at that point. You didn't want Lane Thomas seeing Lodolo for, I think, a 4th time in that spot. I mean, Thomas has big splits, very big splits, right, left. So it was a good spot for Cruz. It just didn't work out today. I don't know if maybe Justin Wilson, using him in the 9th in a tie game, maybe that one, but again, he was also put up in a pretty good spot as well. Like these guys were put in, overall in pretty good spots. Got a couple lefties for Wilson. It just, I don't know, just didn't work today. I don't know what to say about Cruz. He's been so great. I feel like he could flip the switch next week and I wouldn't be shocked, or, hey, maybe he'll just, come back down to earth. But some of like this stuff with his inherited numbers and stuff like that was due for regression. Like that kind of stuff is not sustainable. So I don't know. You're kind of getting the back end of it.
Well, I think the one thing, and this is kind of what you were alluding to, right, is that obviously he's only in his 3rd year in the majors, but last year was, fairly high usage for him, and he pitched in 58 games. Through the Reds' first 97 or whatever, 90 plus games, he's pitched in 47 already, and so his usage is certainly up. I felt like as the season went on last year, he wore out a little bit. I'm trying to pull up the game logs just to confirm some of that.
Felt like everyone wore out.
Yeah, everyone wore out because they were used so much. And now here we are, we're using them even more this year. And today was his 48th appearance already. And we're barely over halfway through the year. So the question becomes, is it sustainable for him to be on track to appear in 90 games or whatever? I don't know if that's realistically an option for this team. Not only because he's clearly not as crisp as he was early on in the season, but just, the bullpen's going to continue to wear down. And I think one of the benefits of this team as we enter the trade deadline is that we probably have some arms in the bullpen that could be decent trade bait, right? And maybe Fernando Cruz is one of those, maybe he's not, but the depth has led a lot of people to kind of assume that the bullpen is ripe for the picking in terms of a trade, right? So maybe this is an opportunity for us to evaluate whether or not Fernando Cruz needs a breather. Obviously he just got one with the All-Star break, so it's hard to think that, he needs yet another one. But if his stuff isn't as crisp, ultimately there's got to be a conversation about why is that.
Yeah. Let's talk about Nick Lodolo. Some good and bad. I mean, he gave up 8 hard hit balls today, so the Nationals were seeing him pretty well. It does feel like he's kind of also almost like in the Fernando Cruz boat, but a little different, where he's not been as dominant as he was at times. But overall, he got through a pretty solid performance today. The thing I did like, he's only walked 1 batter. That had kind of been an issue. He'd walked 4 batters in 2 of his last 3 starts coming into today. So good to see him throw strikes. It just, you're not going to get a great start out of Nick Lodolo every night out. This was pretty good. But for the Reds to get anywhere, they're going to need more of Green and Lodolo's dominance than just kind of these kind of starts. But that's also not really fair to Nick Lodolo, who's made like 40 something career big league starts or something like that right now. Yeah.
Well, and I know he's had a little bit of a break here, but he's still dealing with a blister. I know he's come back from the IL stint, and those blisters don't just like heal up and go away like a strained muscle might or a broken bone might or whatever it may be. Like the skin on his finger is still going to be somewhat blistered, and he's going to have to adjust to that. So, like I said, I thought the fact that he's that he battled and was able to go deep today was a good sign. Obviously struggled in certain spots, but I thought in general, one of the things that was interesting to me was that early on, it felt like he was pitching backwards a little bit, throwing the curveball a lot more earlier in the count and then finishing with the fastball. We saw it, especially in trying to remember who was at bat when that happens, maybe Harold Ramirez, but and Juan Yepes for sure, was clearly confused by his fastball on the inner part of the plate, where he was kind of bailing on the ball, even on balls that ended several inches off the inside corner. Like they were clearly strikes, and Juan Yepes was bailing. So I thought, there were definitely some good signs as Lodolo continues to look to progress through this year. And ultimately, I think for me and for the Reds probably is we just want to see as much work as possible for a healthy year for Nick Lodolo, right? And so I like seeing him go 6 1/3. I like the fact that he was able to battle in some tough spots. He gives up that run in the 4th inning and he comes back out in the 5th and 6th and goes 1-2-3, 1-2-3. So they talked about it on the broadcast that the 4th inning has been a little bit of a struggle for him this year. So I don't know. I felt like we saw some good things from Nick Lodolo today, and certainly some points where not so great.
Yeah, exactly.
That's kind of the story of the entire team and the entire game, isn't it? Some parts were great and some parts weren't so great. It's just frustrating night for sure.
All right, well, we'll come back. We'll talk about Tyler Stevenson. We'll talk about some good news for the Reds that they got on Saturday before the game. Before we get to that, let's tell you about our friends over at Game Time. If you're looking for tickets, be sure to use the Game Time app, because the Game Time app is now an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball. That makes getting tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. With killer last-minute deals, all-in pricing, views from your seat, and the lowest price guaranteed, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying MLB tickets. They have all-in pricing. You can toggle this feature, and it shows you the total up front. with no surprise fees at checkout. Lowest price guaranteed, or Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code Cincy for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account, redeem the code Cincy, CINCY, for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. We also want to remind you that you can call or text 988 anytime at all, day or night. The 988 Suicide and Crisis Lifeline is a place to get support for anything related to mental health, whether in an immediate crisis, simply wanting to find out how to connect with care, or anything in between. It's a 100% confidential, secure, and anonymous way to reach out for help when you don't know where else to turn. To connect, call or text 988 or visit mantherapy.org to get help. It's okay not to be okay. All right, and one guy that is okay is Tyler Stevenson. 5 home runs in his last 8 games. Tyler Stevenson is playing very well. That's really great to see. Stevenson got off to a really good start this season, then kind of had a pretty prolonged slump, coincided with when he was getting close to the birth of his first child, and then baby got born, came back to the Reds, had a couple games, and he's been really on fire since. So, hopefully this is the real Tyler Stevenson. Obviously, he's not going to be the 5 home runs in 8 games Tyler Stevenson, but hopefully, this above average hitting Tyler Stevenson. I'm not talking a great hitter, but he's like that 110, 115 WRC plus kind of guy. It's a really, really valuable player for the Reds, and it's just good to see him, getting off to kind of picking up right where he left off here in the second half.
Yeah, it's been good to have above average or average Tyler Stevenson offensively back. You talked about how he kind of went through a little bit of a slump. At one point, his OPS was down to 689. After today's game, back all the way up to 761 with this streak that he's on right now. So Tyler Stevenson clearly seeing the ball well right now. He had the home run in the 3rd inning, but also reached base 2 other times on walks in the 1st inning with a 7-pitch at bat. Looked good there. So Tyler Stevenson, probably not getting a ton of sleep right now with a newborn baby in the house, but certainly a lot less stress on him than worrying about the birth of his baby coming earlier in the season. So the All-Star break didn't seem to affect him too much. Obviously last night went 0 for 4, but good to see him bounce back today with the home run.
Good. Also, shout out to Santiago Espinal. He had 2 hits as well today. Espinal kind of maybe going to get a little less playing time with the current configuration. Obviously, he was not in the lineup in the first game against the lefty out of the All-Star break. Fairchild sat today. I'm assuming that Fairchild sitting was kind of a planned thing. We'll start him in the first game back, coming off an injury. We'll give him the day off. It looks like the Reds are going to face at least 2 lefties in Atlanta, so he's going to get plenty of opportunities to play. But TJ Friedl is going to start a rehab assignment on Sunday with the Louisville Bats. If all goes well, he plans to join the Reds in Tampa Bay next Friday. So that's great news. I guess the question, obviously, everyone wants to go to is who is TJ Friedl going to replace? That's a great question. I don't know the answer. I mean, if Rhys Hines looks like he looked tonight for the next week, I think it's probably him. Like, I know that might sound crazy to some people because he was the National League Player of the Week. But I mean, I don't know. It's going to be probably who plays the best out of Rhys Hines, Will Benson. Maybe if Austin Slater just completely looks lost, they just DFA him. I don't know. What's your thoughts on this, Craig? Because this is really there's not a clear answer, in my opinion.
Well, there's definitely not a clear answer. That much we know for sure. They essentially have a week to figure it out, though, right? And whether that is, like you said, someone like Will Benson getting a little breather in the minors, Rhys Hines, if he comes back down to earth, heading back to Louisville, or Austin Slater. I find it hard to believe personally that Austin Slater would be the choice just based on the kind of quality at bats that the team values out of him, for the same reason that Jonathan India, I think, will continue to vie for leadoff at bats even after TJ Friedl comes back, and his quality at bats is the same reason that I think Austin Slater sticks around. But it is going to be a very interesting decision in terms of what they do. I really don't know. It may also be, hey, at that point, it's going to be the 26th of July, and maybe they've made a move elsewhere and they don't have to make a demotion. It could be a trade scenario. So, I mentioned it last time I was on the show. Santiago Espinal is now on a 7-game hitting streak. The belief is that Jonathan India isn't going to go anywhere. And so if in fact Espinal is going to potentially see decreased playing time, then maybe this is the time that you make that move at the end of the week and trade away one of the assets and try to add elsewhere. So I don't know. The front office obviously has some work to do. My guess is that whatever happens, if there is a move that happens, non-trade related, that whoever is sent down will probably be back soon, as I do expect the Reds to make some moves at the deadline, just a matter of what.
And some of it also could be, I guess, how much of a belief do you have in this team in the second half? I mean, if the Reds are going to get to a point when TJ Frieda comes back where they're like, yeah, we don't think this team's going to make the playoffs, then I think it probably is Austin Slater that you cut loose, because you want to see more of Will Benson. You want to see more of Rhys Hines. You want to see more out of what you get with these guys. I got a comment in the chat from, I guess, a Pirates fan. you dummies, it's Noelvi Marte. I'm not sure I see that, because the Reds would have how many outfielders? Unless you don't consider Steer an outfielder, Reds would have like 7 outfielders. I mean, I don't think it's Noelvi Marte. Do you? Do you see a way that you can manipulate your roster? Candelario has been atrocious at third base. Spencer Steer was atrocious at third base last year. I mean, you'd almost have to play Santiago Espinal every day at third base if Marte is the odd man out. And that doesn't really solve getting TJ Friedel into the lineup.
Well, first of all, I don't think that Marte is the odd man out. But if he does happen to be, you're left with India, Espinal, De La Cruz, Candelario, and kind of Spencer Steer, right? So you've got five guys to potentially fill that role, which means that Jeimer Candelario is going to have to play defense a majority of days, which is something that I don't think most Reds fans want to see. It is interesting. Reds general manager Brad Meter, was quoted in an article today that he feels like we're in a better spot than we were then, meaning last year. We're going to do whatever we can to improve the team. I don't know what that looks like exactly, but we're in a good spot. We feel good about where we're at. I look at the 40-man roster, right? And I look at the 4 positions across the infield with the potential, based on sending Noelvi Marte down, of having 4.5 infielders, if you consider Jeimer Candelario an infielder, versus having, like you mentioned, Will Benson, Stuart Fairchild, Jake Fraley, Rhys Hines, Austin Slater, Spencer Steer, and TJ Friedel in that scenario to play the 3 positions. I'm not sure that I see that making sense. My gut, if I had to make some sort of guess and proclamation right now, would be that the Reds will make some sort of trade before Friday that will make this move a little bit more evident.
Okay.
We'll see exactly what that is. I feel like this is a situation where you're not gaining anything by sending anybody down, so you might as well try to gain something elsewhere. My immediate reaction is someone like Santiago Espinal, but could be other guys as well. Could be one of those situations where you see Austin Slater moved again. I don't know. There's a lot of options, and again, you've got 5 games still until that point, until you have to make a decision. So, as Nick Kirby loves to say, a lot can happen between now and then. So getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but I don't see it as a full sell, right? Like, I don't think that the Reds go into this trade deadline full on selling. I don't think that would be a realistic expectation from this squad and from this front office. I could certainly see them moving one or two pieces from the major league roster, but only by still adding other pieces. I don't think it's a straight like dump for prospects.
Yeah, unless it just goes completely, in the tank over the next 2 weeks. I mean, that's I guess the caveat. I mean, if the Reds, God forbid, lose 9 of their next 10 games, then I mean, yeah, I think you're trying to sell whatever you can. But back to I don't get this notion of wanting to send all these guys down to AAA that are guys that you're hoping could be a part of your future. I mean, you need to find out what Noelvi Marte actually is. You need to find out what Will Benson actually is, because last thing you want to do is get to the end of the season and say you don't make the playoffs, and now you're like, well, Benson's probably going to bounce back. Marte's probably going to get back. You need to kind of figure out. You already lost a whole year of Matt McLean. You've already lost a whole year of Christian Encarnacion Strand. And Noelvi Marte, it's free service time that you're getting right now. You gain nothing by sitting him down service time wise. So I think you ride him out. I mean, maybe if he gets to a point where he's just getting so overmatched to where you're like, he needs to go down just to get right mentally for his future, then yeah, I totally get that. But Noelvi Marte today hit a ball 107 miles an hour off the bat. So I don't think he's as far away from the Noelvi Marte that we saw last year that everyone was in love with. He still played 30 games this year, counting his minor league games. I mean, he's still so early in the season, that I don't know. I think you keep running him out there. I just don't see a lot of better options.
Well, I think the problem for Noelvi Marte is not getting necessarily overmatched. I just think that he's not seeing the ball very well, and he's chasing the ball a lot. And I feel like he's swinging at balls outside of the zone a lot more than you would like to see, obviously, out of him. But I don't know. I don't think service time is the right reasoning. I think the question is, again, and this is what we were talking about a couple minutes ago, is that if you send him down, who's playing third base every day? And unless you're comfortable with that being some combination of Jeimer Candelario and Santiago Espinal, I don't know that you have a better option. And that's the bigger question for me, is what other option do you have? Because you don't have another infielder on the 40-man roster other than Levon Soto. So there's your options, right? I mean, it's Noelvi Marte, it's Santiago Espinal, it's Jeimer Candelario, or it's Levon Soto. And I realize that there's going to be a lot of differing opinions on that, but ultimately, from my opinion, is that your best possible outcome comes with Noelvi Marte at third base. And he's got to stop swinging at so many balls out of the zone. But again, when he makes contact, he's making good contact. It's not like he's getting overmatched. I think he needs to calm down, stop feeling so much pressure about, I missed 80 games. Now I need to come back and set the world on fire. Instead, just be the Noelvi Marte that we had at the end of last year. We had a 19-game hitting streak. Just put the ball in play. You don't have to be hitting for power. You don't have to swing for the fences. Just let the game come to you and stop pressing so much, because right now it feels like he's trying a lot harder than he needs to.
Today was Noelvi Marte's 19th game. I think maybe a little bit of patience can go a long way, but to each their own on that. All right, let's get into, are you got any other burning topics on this riveting baseball game tonight, Craig?
Just I'll point out they mentioned it on the broadcast as well, but Spencer Steer stole a base in the first inning. The Reds now the only team in Major League Baseball with 2 players with 15 home runs and 15 stolen bases. So shout out the Reds.
Shout out, baby. All right, let's get into some Reds MILB. I did the best I can. It's hard to keep full tracks of everything going on running the show, but I'll give you my best rundown I can. You'll have to wait for the podcast for everything else as always. The ACL Reds, they had the first game. They won 9-7 over the ACL Rangers. Our hero Shang-In Lin did not play in that one. Pretty disappointing season so far from Cole Schoenwetter, Reds' 4th-round pick. He gave up 7 hits and 5 runs today. He's got an ERA almost at 6 through his first 36 innings this season. Chattanooga, they were swept in a doubleheader. They got no hit in the first game. Now, this is a 7-inning game. The good news is, though, Rhett Lauder pitched pretty well. 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts. He only needed 62 pitches to get through his 5 innings. Lauder, a 3.77 ERA over his last 4 starts, 16 strikeouts and just 5 walks over that span. Louisville, they won 6-4 over Columbus. They continue to play well. Julian Aguiar is, I guess, worst start so far with the bats. Wasn't really that terrible. Overall, he gave up 4 runs in that one. And then Dayton, they lost 5-0 to West Michigan. Dayton only got 2 hits. Think about that Dayton team. When they're good, they're good. When they're bad, they are really bad. They're very much a feast or famine offense. And then Daytona was postponed today. All right, tomorrow. Let's bring that down. There we go. All right, tomorrow, Reds back at it against the Nationals. Reds trying to avoid getting swept. That's not a whole lot of fun. Nationals a pretty sneaky good pitcher in Jake Irvin. This guy's got a 3.49 ERA, a sub-4 FIP. This guy was a 4th-round pick. Jake Irvin out of Oklahoma. Wasn't really a highly ranked prospect, but he's carved out a pretty nice career so far. He relies on 6 pitches. 6 pitches. He really only throws 4, though. 4-seamer, curveball, sinker, and cutter. Fastball averages 94 miles per hour. Now, his last 2 starts before the break did not go well. He gave up 18 hits in 10 innings. That's a 10.80 ERA. That was at the Brewers and at the Mets. He is 0-1 with a 5.28 ERA in 3 career starts against the Reds. Active Reds against Irvin, 12 for 37. It's a 3.24 average. Will Benson, who I would expect will make his first start of the second half, 2 for 6 with a double. Ellie De La Cruz is 3 for 8 with the triple. Jake Fraley is 3 for 5. Spencer Steer is 2 for 4. And then for the Reds, Andrew Abbott, coming off a pretty tough start against the Marlins, didn't make it through the 4th inning, gave up 7 hits and 5 runs in that one. He was pitching very well before that. The last 2 starts before that at the Yankees against the Rockies. He only gave up 1 run in 13 in the 3rd innings pitched. He's only faced the Nationals once in his career last season. Didn't go too well. 9 hits and 6 earned runs in 5 2/3 innings. The active Nats, they are 5 for 15 against Abbott. CJ Abrams is 0 for 4. Keibert Ruiz, 2 for 3 with a pair of doubles. Craig, any thoughts on this matchup here on Sunday? This is a 1:35 start time.
Not a whole lot. I think, I thought the offense performed a little bit better today. I think the biggest thing is just continue to get back on track and get the offense going tomorrow and get Andrew Abbott some run support. And hope that he can look like the Andrew Abbott against the Yankees and the Rockies and less like the Andrew Abbott against the Marlins.
Yeah, hopefully. We want to get out of here with the win. Salvage it. Trace will be back tomorrow. We'll be 9 p.m. our normal Sunday night time. So we'll be back at 9 p.m. to discuss Reds Nats series finale. And then the Reds are off to Atlanta. Going to be a pretty tough series. They do get an off day. Then they play the Rays. And they come back home for the Cubs. And they play 1 game and then it's a trade deadline. So it's going to come quick here over these next 2 weeks. All right, Craig, any final thoughts?
No. Better days ahead.
Yep, better days ahead. Thanks, everyone, for watching. See you at 9 p.m. tomorrow. If you could like the stream on the way out, we would appreciate it. Take care, everyone.